Nietzsche's Amor Fati, the art of loving your suffering. There's a moment most of us never talk about, profound and unsettling silence that falls not in the midst of some great cinematic tragedy, but in the quiet hum of an ordinary afternoon. It is the moment you look at the life you're actually living, the job, the relationships, the person in the mirror, and you feel the gap. It's a chasm, a dizzying space that separates the reality of where you are from the spectral continent of where you thought you would be. In that space echoes the weight of past decisions, the sharp, persistent sting of failures, and the pale, sorrowful ghosts of roads not taken. It is a quiet, internal ache, a haunting whisper of what if? What if you had summoned the courage to take that other job, the one that terrified and thrilled you? What if you had loved that person with more vulnerability, or perhaps not at all? What if that sickness, that loss, that one defining mistake that you circle back to in the dead of night had never happened? These alternative pasts, like stones in our pockets, their edges softened by time, but their weight ever present, felt with every single step. We secretly dream of a life where we could perform a kind of psychic surgery on our own history to reach into our past and pluck out the painful parts like thorns, to edit the moments of shame and heartbreak. We convince ourselves that only then, in that sanitized, idealized version of our own story, could we finally be whole, finally be happy, finally breathe without the suffocating weight of what has been. But what if that entire approach, this deep-seated war against our own history, is fundamentally wrong? But about wanting it, desiring it exactly as it was in all its painful and beautiful detail for all eternity. What if the key to human greatness wasn't avoiding pain, but falling so deeply in love with its every scar that you would not change a thing? This is the brutal, radical, and life-altering challenge of the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. He gave it a name, Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning a love of one's fate. And this is not a gentle, comforting suggestion. It is a dare hurled from the abyss of human suffering, asking you not just to accept your life, but to love it. To love it so completely, so fiercely that you would will to live it again exactly as it was, with every tear and every triumph an infinite number of times. This isn't just a philosophy. It's a declaration of war against regret. It is the profound and difficult art of loving your own suffering, the poison of regret and the man forged in pain. Regret. Let's be absolutely honest about what it is. It's a poison. A slow-acting venom we willingly, almost ritualistically drink each day, clinging to the futile hope that the past will somehow bend to our will and change. It won't. The past is immune to our sorrows and our desires. The only victim of this poison is our present, the only casualty our future. Regret is the ghost that haunts the quiet hours of the night, the insidious voice that whispers at 4 a.m., replaying our failures on an endless, torturous loop. It's the exhausting mental exercise of refighting battles that are already lost and buried, pouring our most precious resource, our life's energy, our vitality, into a black hole of if only. This debilitating state of being is what Nietzsche saw as the ultimate sickness of the modern soul. He identified it with the term ressentiment, a bitter, resentful poison born from a deep, gnawing feeling of powerlessness. When we are trapped in the labyrinth of regret, we are fundamentally weak. We look back at our mistakes, the wrong career path that stole our years, the failed relationship that shattered our heart, the cruel words we can never take back, and we blame them. We resent them. We see them as ugly, indelible stains on a canvas that could have been, should have been, a masterpiece. This resentment, this backward-looking anger, saps our strength. It turns our gaze perpetually toward a past that cannot be altered, and in doing so, it drains the very power we need to create, to build, and to shape a future. Nietzsche knew this poison intimately, not as a theoretical concept, but as a daily reality. He wasn't some pampered armchair philosopher writing from a life of comfort and privilege. His earth-shattering ideas were forged in the roaring fires of immense, unrelenting, and deeply personal suffering. Imagine a man plagued from a young age by a storm of debilitating health problems, including severe, blinding migraines that could leave him incapacitated for days on end, racked with vomiting and vision problems. Imagine a man whose academic career, once brilliantly promising and destined for greatness, fizzled into bitter disappointment and profound intellectual isolation. Imagine a man who suffered a loneliness so deep it was a physical presence, his friendships often ending in agonizing betrayal, and his attempts at love met with crushing, humiliating rejection. This was the life of Friedrich Nietzsche. He had every conceivable reason to be consumed by regret, to curse his fate, to become the living embodiment of the ressentiment he described. His life is practically a catalog of pain. He sought refuge from his tormented body and mind in the high alpine village of Sils Maria, renting a humble, unheated room in the hope that the crisp, thin mountain air might soothe his ailments. During his long, solitary walks, often lasting for hours, through the dramatic, imposing, and often harsh landscape, where snow could fall even in the height of August, his mind wrestled with the deepest questions of existence. It was here, nearly 6,000 feet above the everyday world, amidst turquoise lakes, dark, silent forests, and the overwhelming presence of the mountains, that his most radical ideas were born. It was in this crucible of physical pain and stark isolation that Nietzsche formulated his definitive answer to the poison of regret. He looked at his own shattered life, the chronic illness that tormented him, the crushing loneliness that enveloped him, the professional failures that haunted him, and he didn't find a reason to say no to life. He forged a weapon. He found a reason to scream, yes. He came to the radical conclusion that wishing for things to have been different was the ultimate expression of weakness, a profound denial of reality. And for Nietzsche, the path to greatness, to becoming what he famously called the Übermensch or Overman, was only possible through the total and absolute affirmation of reality. All of it. The beautiful and the terrible, the joyous and the agonizing. From this personal inferno, he emerged not with a philosophy of quiet acceptance, but with a roar of cosmic defiance. He didn't just bear his fate, he chose to love it. And that is the crucial first step to understanding Amor Fati. It is not passive resignation. It's an active, willful, passionate, and creative embrace of everything that is, was, and ever will be. The sacred, yes, more than just acceptance. The idea of accepting our fate, of making peace with necessity, isn't new. For centuries, the Stoic philosophers offered a powerful and dignified path to tranquility through this very principle. The great Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, writing in his personal journals, advised us to accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. He taught that a great soul is like a blazing fire. Whatever is thrown into it, whether a dead branch or a rotten log, the fire consumes it and uses it as fuel. Blazing all the higher and brighter. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, born slave, taught a similar lesson with profound simplicity. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. This is a philosophy of resilience, a powerful strategy for enduring what you cannot change with a calm, unbreakable spirit. It is about clearly understanding the line between what is within your control and what is not, and finding a deep, unshakable peace within those boundaries. It is a noble, admirable, and incredibly useful mindset for navigating the difficulties of life. But it is not Nietzsche's Amor Fati. Nietzsche takes the Stoic idea of acceptance and pushes it right over a cliff into a terrifying and exhilarating abyss. He radicalizes it. He transforms it from a defensive posture of Stoic endurance into an offensive act of joyous, world-creating affirmation. For Nietzsche, it's not enough to simply bear what is necessary. It's not enough to accept it with a stiff upper lip. He demands that we love it. In his astonishingly personal book, Ecce Homo, written in a feverish burst of creativity just before his final descent into madness, he lays out his vision with chilling and unforgettable clarity. He calls Amor Fati his formula for human greatness. And what is that formula? That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. Stoicism is the impenetrable shield that protects you from the unpredictable blows of fate. Amor Fati is opening your arms wide, inviting the blow, feeling its full impact, and then declaring that very impact essential to the person you have become. The Stoic endures the storm from a safe harbor they have built within their own mind. Nietzsche demands that you go out and dance in the hurricane, to feel the slicing wind and the stinging rain and the raw chaos, and to call it not just necessary but beautiful. This is what he called the sacred yes. It is a yes said not just to the pleasant sunlit parts of life, the successes, the joys, the reciprocated loves, but a resounding yes said to the entire indivisible package. Nietzsche saw life as a vast, infinitely complex tapestry. Every thread, every color, every intricate knot, the brilliant gold of joy and the deep black of despair is essential to the overall pattern. To attempt to pull out a single thread of suffering, a single moment of pain or failure would be to unravel the entire magnificent and terrifying thing. Your greatest triumphs are inextricably linked to your deepest wounds. The wisdom you possess now was forged in the very fires of your past foolishness. The strength that now defines your character was built in the precise moments you felt at your absolute weakest. The compassion you are able to feel for others was born from the times you yourself suffered without mercy. To wish away a mistake is to wish away the profound lesson it taught you. To wish away a heartbreak is to wish away the depth and capacity for feeling it carved into your soul. You simply cannot have one without the other. Life doesn't offer an a la carte menu where you can pick the joy and refuse the pain. It's a set menu, a fixed course. Amor Fati is looking at that menu, seeing all the courses laid out, the exquisite and the bitter, the sweet and the agonizing, and saying with a full, courageous heart, yes, I will have it all. It is the unwavering belief that if you can affirm even a single solitary moment of pure joy in your life, you must, by logical necessity, affirm the entire eternity of suffering that was required to produce it. This is the sacred yes. The alchemy of trauma, forging strength from suffering. So how is this even possible? How can a person look at the events that have broken them at trauma, at failure, at deep personal loss, and not just accept them, but actively desire them? This is where Amor Fati reveals itself, not as a passive state of resignation, but as a dynamic, creative, alchemical process. It is the art of turning the worthless bleed of suffering into the shining gold of strength. And this incredible alchemy is powered by another of Nietzsche's core concepts, the will to power, will zur Macht. Now, when we hear the phrase will to power, we might instinctively think of brute force, political tyranny, or the desire for dominance over others. But this is a profound and damaging misreading of Nietzsche, one often born from the deliberate and malicious misuse of his work by his sister after his death. For Nietzsche, the will to power isn't about controlling other people. It's about self-mastery. It is the fundamental, instinctual drive within every living thing to grow, to expand its influence, to overcome resistance, and to express its full inherent strength. It is the creative impulse that drives an artist to wrestle a masterpiece from a block of stone or a tiny seed to break through hard soil toward the sun. It is the primal drive for more life, more vitality, more power over oneself. And what is the greatest fuel for this will to power? What does it feed on? Resistance, obstacles, suffering. Nietzsche insists that we can only grow by overcoming. A muscle doesn't get stronger by lifting nothing. It grows only when it is strained against a heavy, resisting weight. A tree doesn't grow deep, unshakable roots on a calm, windless plain. Its roots grow deep and strong only when it is forced, day after day, to withstand the force of powerful gales. In exactly the same way, the human spirit does not achieve greatness or profundity in a life of ease and comfort. Greatness is forged in hardship. Pain is the resistance that allows our will to power to show up, to engage, to get stronger, and ultimately to overcome. This is the very essence of his famous and often misunderstood declaration: what does not kill me makes me stronger. This is the alchemy. Amor Fati is the conscious, deliberate choice to view every hardship not as a meaningless curse, but as a necessary challenge. It's seeing every failure not as a final judgment, of his raw material. Trauma isn't an enemy to be vanquished. It's the unrefined, ugly ore from which you will forge the sword of your own character. Think of your life as a volcanic forge. Every betrayal, every loss, every period of soul-crushing depression, these are not random, chaotic events to be mourned. They are the hammer strikes. They are the searing, intense heat. They are the violent, shaping forces that are creating you. A person who fights their fate, who is consumed by regret and resentment, is like a piece of metal that resists the hammer. It will either shatter into 1,000 useless pieces or remain a shapeless, worthless lump. But the alchemist of the soul, the person who practices Amor Fati, welcomes the hammer. They understand that each blow, however agonizing, is a necessary part of the process. The fire isn't there to destroy them, but to purify them, to burn away the dross. The failure that broke them open allows them to be remade, to emerge from the flames sharper, stronger, more tempered, and more resilient than they ever could have been before. Nietzsche lived this very alchemy. His own chronic sickness, a condition that would have utterly destroyed a lesser man, became the very fire that purified his thought, forcing him into the profound solitude he needed to write his greatest works. His professional failures and academic disappointments were the hammer blows that broke him free from the chains of conventional thinking, allowing him to become one of history's most radical and original philosophers. He took the lead of his immense suffering, and through the sheer force of his will to power, transmuted it into the eternal gold of his life's work. This is the monumental shift in perspective that Amor Fati demands. It asks you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of these circumstances. A victim is passive, a victim is acted upon. Amor Fati calls you to become the architect of your own chaos. To see that the very storms you once cursed were, in fact, the elemental forces that sculpted the majestic cliffs of your character. Your scars are not signs of damage to be hidden. They are runes of power etched into the fabric of your soul, telling the epic story of the battles you have not only survived, but overcome. When you learn to look at your past in this way, regret becomes an impossibility. How can you regret the very fire that forged you? You can only look upon it with a sense of terrible, awful gratitude. You can only, in the end, love it. The ultimate test. The eternal recurrence. So, you believe you've embraced your past. You've made a fragile peace with your scars. You're ready to stand up and say yes to the totality of your life. Nietzsche, ever the provocateur, provides one final, terrifying test to see if you truly mean it. It is a thought experiment so powerful, so existentially heavy, that he himself called it, quote, the greatest weight, unquote. This is the idea of the eternal recurrence. He first presents this staggering idea not as a cosmological fact, but as a question whispered by a demon. Imagine this scenario. You are in your loneliest loneliness. It is the dead of night. The world outside is utterly silent, and your mind is at its most vulnerable. And a demon steals into your room. He doesn't threaten you with the fires of hell. He offers you something far more profound and perhaps far more terrifying. He leans in close, his voice a whisper that seems to emanate from the very fabric of the darkness, and says, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it. But every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you. All in the same succession and sequence, even this spider in this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment, and I myself, the eternal hourglass of existence, is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, speck of dust. Just pause for a moment, truly absorb the magnitude of that proposition. Not a similar life, this exact life, every single triumph. Yes, but also every agonizing, shameful failure. Every moment of blissful, transcendent love, but also every gut-wrenching, soul-crushing betrayal. Every second of sickness, every wave of despair, every foolish mistake you cringe to remember, every dull moment of boredom, every single tear you have ever cried, all of it played back on an unbreakable, unchangeable loop forever. Nietzsche then poses the decisive, soul-bearing question: would you not throw yourself down and gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or have you once experienced a tremendous moment when you would have answered him, "You are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine"? This is the ultimate litmus test for Amor Fati. Your immediate gut-level reaction to this question reveals your truest relationship with your life. If the thought crushes you, if you recoil in horror at the prospect of reliving your suffering for eternity, then you haven't yet learned to love your fate. You are still wishing deep down that things were different. You are still drinking the slow-acting poison of regret. For you, the eternal repetition of your pain is the ultimate curse. It is a self-made hell. But what if you could hear this and not be crushed? What if you could look back on the entire messy, beautiful, terrible totality of your existence, the absolute worst of it standing inseparable from the best of it, and still say, yes? To say it again and again and again for all eternity, that, for Nietzsche, is the highest state a human being can possibly achieve. It is the precise moment where your will to power becomes so overwhelmingly strong that it doesn't just endure reality, it actively wills reality exactly as it is forever. The eternal recurrence is not meant as a theory of cosmology. It's a psychological tool of immense power. It forces you into a position of ultimate, radical ownership of your life. If you knew with absolute certainty that you had to relive every single choice an infinite number of times, wouldn't you make those choices with more intention, more weight, more terrifying presence? Every moment becomes an eternity in itself. Every single decision must be one you are willing to stand by forever. It compels you to find the value and necessity in your suffering. You can no longer dismiss the hard times as mere unfortunate obstacles on the way to the good times. If those hard times are to be repeated eternally, they must have meaning. You must find a way to see how they were essential, how they were the necessary precondition for creating the moments of joy you also want to relive. It transforms life from a linear race towards some far-off destination into a complete finished work of art where every single brushstroke, light or dark, is essential to the whole. To pass this test is to extinguish regret entirely. There can be no more if only. There is only it was so, and so I willed it. It's the final triumphant declaration that your life, with all its scars and all its beauty, was not just acceptable, not just good, but necessary and perfect, worthy of being repeated for all time. Architect of chaos. He began this journey with that quiet, pervasive feeling of dissatisfaction. With the crushing weight of regret, we journeyed through the bitter poison of resentment in the remarkable life of a man who suffered immensely, and we arrived at a philosophy that demands not just quiet acceptance, but a ferocious, passionate love. A love for our own, unique, imperfect, and often profoundly painful fate. And Amor Fati isn't a simple, cheerful platitude. It's not about pretending that pain doesn't hurt or that trauma leaves no mark. It's the exact opposite. It is a clear-eyed, unflinching, courageous gaze directly into the abyss of your own life, into the chaos, the suffering, mistakes, the shame in choosing to call it your own, to call it necessary, to call it, against all reason, beautiful. So how do we even begin to practice this daunting philosophy in our everyday lives? How do we make the monumental shift from being a passive victim of our past to becoming the active architect of our own chaos? It begins with a small, daily choice. When the ghosts of regret inevitably come whispering at 4 a.m., greet them not with panicked resistance, but with a quiet, firm yes. Acknowledge the pain of the memory. Feel the sting of the past failure. And then ask the alchemical question, what strength was forged in this specific fire? What profound lesson did this particular wound teach me? How is the person I am today, in my best and strongest moments, a direct and undeniable result of this past hardship? You must begin to reframe your personal history, not as a list of grievances against fate, but as your personal training ground, your unique crucible. You stop waging the exhausting, unwinnable war against what is necessary in your life. You stop accusing reality. You begin to see every event, no matter how painful it felt at the time, as new material for the forge. You are not a passive observer of your life. You are the artist, and this is your canvas. And suffering is one of your most potent and transformative tools. It is the chisel that carves depth and character, the fire that adds temper and resilience, the shadow that gives the light its meaning and its brilliance. This is the ultimate act of self-affirmation. To love your fate is to love yourself, completely and without condition. It is to finally and deeply understand that you are not the sum of your successes or a highlight reel of your best moments. You are the beautiful, complex, unbreakable product of every single moment you have ever lived. You are the scars. You are the triumphs. You are the joy and the sorrow, the light, the dark, woven together into a unique and unrepeatable pattern that could not exist any other way. The ultimate challenge of Amor Fati is to live each day with such intention and presence that you would be willing to repeat it for eternity, to make choices that you can affirm forever, to become so well disposed to yourself and to life itself that your highest hope, your most fervent desire would be for nothing more, that its ultimate eternal confirmation and seal. It's a terrifying thought, but it is also, paradoxically, the most liberating thought imaginable. It frees you from the self-made prison of the past and empowers you to create a present moment that is truly worthy of eternity. It is the final, definitive answer to the poison of regret. It is a path to greatness, and it begins with a choice to stop wishing for a different life and to start loving the one you actually have with every fiber of your being, to look your own unique fate in the eye in all its terror and all its glory, and to say with a full and defiant heart, yes. If this exploration of Nietzsche's most challenging and life-altering idea resonated with you, consider subscribing for more journeys into the heart of philosophy and the art of living. Like this video, if it offered you a new perspective on your own struggles and your own story, and now I want to ask you the ultimate question. If the demon were to steal into your loneliest loneliness tonight, what would you say? Would you curse him or would you call him a god? Share your honest thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss this together. Thank you for watching. If this resonated, I'd ask you to do one thing. Go write down one difficulty you're currently facing and just ask what it might be developing in you. And before you go, if this kind of content speaks to you, if you want to keep exploring ideas like this, Stoicism, resilience, the philosophy of how to actually live, consider subscribing to this channel. Every week, I try to take ideas that are genuinely worth your time, not productivity hacks, not quick fixes, and go deep on them. The way we just did today. Hit subscribe, hit the bell if you want to make sure you don't miss anything. And if this video helped you in some way, share it with one person who you think needs to hear it right now. I'll see you in the next one. Awesome.